please remain standing as I invite Reverend Melbourne Stewart, Chaplain of the Cornwall Regional Hospital, to intercede on our behalf.
Let us pray. What a wonderful moment it is when we could come together in this fashion to reflect on your goodness, O God, a God who never fails, a God who we give thanks this afternoon for the work, O God, of your power, of your insight, of your love for fellow mankind. Lord, the words you give this afternoon to us is that you require that your people be whole in body, mind, and spirit. As we have a vision, healthy families living in healthy communities, you are a God who continues to restore and rebuild your people. Lord, we thank you that you pulled the Jericho wall down. I thank you for those wailing women at Cornwall Regional Hospital, oh God, who continue to intercede every day, oh God, seeking your face. We thank you for our Minister of Health. We thank you for the team, oh, all the builders, the contractors. Lord, we thank you for the inspiration that you continue to give them. Continue to bind them together. Thank you, Lord, for the private and public partnership. Lord, we pray that more would come on board because, Lord, the needs are so great, but you will supply all that we need. We thank you, Lord, for this forum. We thank you, Lord, that your Spirit is here with us and that the panel discussion, all our deliberations would be guided by your Holy Spirit, that it would bear fruit, O God. For what you desire of us is that we keep working as a team, to love one another, to walk humbly and justly, oh God, in your service. And more so, you said to talk about your life and holiness, that we as a people, oh God, would continue to, oh God, be lights and salt in this vineyard. I thank you, Lord, that the hospital is on a hill. It's on a tower, it's a lighthouse, it's a beacon, and you will continue to let it shine even greater as you continue to seek you, and you will complete what you have started. To you be all glory and praise. Be with us now in a special way and help us to enjoy and rejoice, because we know it is done in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen.
Thank you very much, Reverend Stewart. Dr. the Honorable Christopher Tufton, Minister of Health and Wellness, His Worship, the Mayor, Councillor Leroy Williams, the Honorable Homer Davis, State Minister in the Ministry of Local Government, Mr. Heroy Clark, Member of Parliament for St. James Central. We have a number of our councillors who are also with us, and I'd like to acknowledge them from the Municipal Corporation. Also want to acknowledge Senator Charles Sinclair, our President of the Montego Bay Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Mr. Oral Heaven, other members of the Chamber of Commerce that are with us, Mr. Robin Russell, President of the Jamaica Hotel and Tourist Association, Mr. Lennox Wallace, who is our Parish Manager for the St. James Health Services, Mrs. Charmaine Williams Beckford, CEO of the Cornwall Regional Hospital, and Dr. Derek Harvey, who is the Senior Medical Officer of Health at Cornwall Regional, or panelists, other panelists that we'd like to acknowledge at this time, members of the media, members who are present from Mellow TV, who are actually broadcasting, as well as my friend Cliff Hughes from Nationwide Radio, who's also broadcasting this afternoon. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We have with us this evening a team of persons to share on the progress of the redevelopment of an institution that has been essential, very essential to the delivery of health care in Western Jamaica. An institution on which the population continues to rely for care. As you know, I'm speaking of the close to 50-year-old Cornwall Regional Hospital. The team that will be sharing with us and discussing with us this afternoon is well able to answer questions and to elucidate and give us more information. This team is led by none other than our Minister of Health and Wellness himself, Dr. the Honorable Christopher Tufton, who is here with us. I'm going to invite him to take up his position on stage, as well as Mr. Vivian Gordon, the project manager for the redevelopment of Cornwall, Mr. Gary Hamilton, Senior Vice President, WSP, who is the man with the responsibility to ensure quality control in the delivery of what is to be a new state-of-the-art facility. And as well, we have Dr. Delroy Frey, our clinical coordinator with Cornwall Regional Hospital. Gentlemen, I'm going to ask you to take up your positions, and I'm going to move across a little bit. I know persons would have had an opportunity to view the exhibits. Minister, I'm going to ask you to sit in the, well, there is no middle with four, is there? But let me just ask them to take up their seats. And of course, tell you just a little bit as we sort things out about our panelists. Of course, our Honorable Minister is Member of Parliament for West Central St. Catherine, has been since March 2016. And he is the Minister of Health and Wellness. Prior to this, he was Minister of Industry, Investment and Commerce, and also served as Minister of Agriculture and Fisheries. And there's a lot I could tell you about him, but I know time is of the essence this afternoon, this evening. But let me tell you a little bit about Mr. Vivian Gordon, who is the Rehabilitation Project Manager, an experienced building consultant with a demonstrated history of working in the architecture and planning industry. He's a very skilled gentleman in AutoCAD, government, team building, and sustainable design and management. Has a strong program and project management background with Autodesk Rivet Architecture, certified user-focused in Rivet Architecture from Autodesk. We also have, you heard the name earlier, Mr. Gary Hamilton. He's Senior Vice President for WSP. He is the USA Director of Healthcare and Senior Vice President for WSP, which is one of the world's largest engineering firms. He oversees the healthcare practice for the USA and represents the USA on the global healthcare team, and is responsible for setting the strategic objectives of healthcare nationally. He leads and manages the national healthcare staff and ensures a continuous growth of the highest revenue vertical market in the company. And there's several other areas that he serves in. And I believe we all know Dr. Delroy Frey, clinical coordinator at CRH. He previously served as supervisor, accident and emergency department, chief of surgery, and senior medical officer of the facility. And Dr. Frey has done extensive research in diabetes, breast cancer, and venous disease. He was the 2021 RGR Gleaner Honor Awardee for Health and the St. James for Medicine Spirit of Independence Awardee. And as I said, I could tell you much more about our panelists, but we don't want to cut into our time. Just want you to know that we have a very experienced panel. And we're going to begin our engagement this evening, ladies and gentlemen, with some opening words from our minister, including a look back at Cornwall Regional Hospital of 2016-2017. So, Minister, over to you to begin. Minister, use my microphone.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, everyone, or good evening, everyone. Sorry, I'm a little disoriented today. Not accustomed to sitting so low on a platform, right? Normally standing up. But I really want to just thank all of you who are here. Thank those who are listening in media world. Thanks to the team from Cornwall Regional, Western Regional Health Authority, my ministerial colleague, Homer Davis, as well as the mayor and other councillors, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Cornwall Regional Hospital continues to be a critical talking point in Western Jamaica and indeed nationally. And we felt that it was important to establish a protocol that will continuously update the population, particularly people in Western Jamaica, as to where we are, what we're doing, and today is intended to be one such. Perhaps the most elaborate, in that if you look around the room today on display, is our attempt at showing you what the final product will look like. We are indeed building a new hospital, and that's where I want to start. You know, when I joined the ministry, I saw correspondence dating as far back as 2007, where an expert opinion was given that the main building of Cornwall Regional Hospital had a serious ventilation problem, and the current system at the time would lead literally to disaster, my words. And that is exactly what happened, because nothing was done despite that opinion in 2007. That is exactly what happened in 2016, very shortly after I became minister and this administration took over. It started out as a ventilation system, air conditioning defect, but it morphed into what we now have as a building that was sick and a building whose structure were compromised. And the technical team will give you more details on that, but suffice it to say that we really had to start from scratch. Now, the point I want to get across in this opening statement to create the context is that we could not have decided to start from scratch in the beginning of the process, and we could not take a traditional or conventional approach to dealing with Cornwall Regional Hospital for two reasons. Firstly, the hospital was fully occupied. I want you to picture this: 450 patients in beds, thousands per week coming for inpatient or outpatient care in the clinics, an accident and emergency area that was active in a high trauma society, gunshot wounds, accident victims, as well as all the other supporting infrastructure, including administration, with absolutely no alternative. And I do recall one afternoon when someone came in my office in Kingston and said to me, "Minister, we might as well just lock down the hospital." I am not going to say what I said to the person because I would be breaching broadcasting rules, but I became angry and sad, because while the advice may have been the traditionally right advice to give, people would die, literally, because it meant I would have to take these 450 people and put them in the street. Nowhere, no alternative. So what we eventually had to do was to take an unusual approach, which was to deal with the problem in increments initially by building out a hospital around the hospital. That couldn't happen overnight. So we had to redesign buildings, create temporary structures, fix up Falmouth, fix up Noel Homes in Hanover, negotiate with the Seventh-day Adventist Faith, amazing support that they have given us. Luckily, they had that hall next door for our outpatient clinic, fix up the auditorium to be an outpatient clinic, put in the cubicles, put in all the supporting infrastructure, lease out services, because we had to now engage the private sector, and I could go on and on. That took the better part of over a year, just to be able to engage the building. And while we were doing that and interrogating the problems with the ventilation system, what we discovered was that this wasn't a ventilation system. This was a sick building. The building was severely sick. The building was on life support. And these guys will talk about the technical parts of that. But what eventually had to happen was that we had to strip down the entire building. So those who say we started out with one particular objective and appear to have miscalculated are right on the fact that, yes, we started out to fix a ventilation system. But the reality is we had to rescope as we went along when we discovered that the building had every single problem that you could think of. Now you may ask the question, why never just tear it down? I'll allow the team to discuss that because that's a relevant question, I think, deserving a response. Today, though, in closing, with my opening section, Madam Chair, I am hopeful, and I really want to reassure the people of Western Jamaica. And the pictures are around you, and these pictures are not taken out of a book. These are the artistic impressions given by the contractor who will do the final phase, which we hope to get into soon. I am hopeful, I am encouraged that we know what the problem is. We have started to fix the problem, and that we will see a brand new Cornwall Regional Hospital with expanded services, expanded square footage, much more comfortable environment for both patients and staff, and ultimately will serve the people of this region and the country, and indeed the Caribbean, in a much better way, and can go on for the next at least 50 years. So there are many lessons that we have learned, but we have learned them, and we are making the effort to ensure that we have a renewed Cornwall Regional Hospital. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you very much, Minister. I'm told I can give that one back to you. Thank you for setting the stage, Minister. We want to just segue to a short video clip and ask persons to be attentive as we continue the discussion.
Cornwall Regional Hospital was built in 1974. It was a gift of the Canadian government. They did all the technical work and provided the resources to build the facility.
Over the years, clearly, there was poor maintenance of the building, but also the building was modified by non-experts. People were constructing offices in the corridor. What that does is to interfere with the airflow and the ventilation. There was water seeping through the roof, it was leaking, but also seeping through the walls, and there were the plumbing fixtures and so on.
As long as you have moisture building up in concrete, in wood, and so on, you're going to have some conditions that are suitable for the growth of mold. To be able to find out the extent of that problem, basically the entire building had to be gutted.
The collapse of the Cornwall Regional Hospital posed a challenge to public health that I don't think we have seen post-independence.
Closing this hospital would not be an option. It would be like closing KPH.
The hospital is a 450-bed facility. It was pretty much full and has been consistently so. The options to close would mean having nowhere to put persons. People would literally die if we close the hospital.
In 2017, when it was deemed that staff were primarily affected by the air quality issues, we realized that we had to relocate on a phase basis and not en bloc.
We are not on the main building, we're all across the campus. We're down the road, we're over West Jamaica Conference, and we're up at Falmouth. Movement on the campus mean you have to serve inpatient, mean you have to move up to Falmouth, you have to move down to Barnet Clinic, you have to move across the campus. And sometimes it is very hot, sometimes it's raining.
We have not compromised on one service, one era of service that we are doing before the hospital was closed. We would have removed and built a standalone building to accommodate our CT machines, our X-ray machines, and so on. We would have expanded our accident and emergency unit, constructed intensive care units to be used for COVID, converted living spaces into wards, constructed 3 additional operating theaters. expanded even our dialysis area.
The first phase was to fix the roof, fix the structural problems. The second phase was to the demolition of the building. That is to remove all the internals, because a lot of them are identified to be mold infested. And then the third phase would have been the rehabilitation of the building.
It was a worthwhile building to renovate. To construct a new building would cost 10 times as much. And when they're renovating a building, you get many surprises. And that is what has been happening at Cornwall Regional. So you demolish a wall or to find problems which were not planned for.
We understood that there are delays. We knew that persons were disgruntled. Some persons, of course, left. But some of us decided that we're going to have to stick through this and get through it.
When it is completed, we'll have a brand new hospital, a brand new building, brand new facilities, modern facilities, because it is totally being redesigned.
What I can assure members of the public is that we are doing all that is necessary in terms of identifying what are required, bit of resources, bit of management system, and so on. And certainly, these will be incorporated in our budget going forward.
So we're building the capacity from now. We're looking to get all the expertise we need, that going forward, once the hospital is built, the whole issue of maintenance will not go back to where it was.
What will that moment of seeing that project to completion and walking into a new building be like for you?
I will be elated, not just for me or for the ministry, but for the people who use the facility. Doctors and the nurses who have put up with all the challenges over time, the patients who use the facility, who have understood the nature of the inconveniences and why this is the case. You know, I look forward to that day, and I will celebrate on behalf of all who will benefit from the restoration, and indeed take those lessons, because I think the lessons to be learned should be transmitted to all across the public health system to avoid any other institution from having the same fate. So in a sense, Cornwall Regional Hospital should be a teaching moment for us. And that's one of the major objectives that I would have in terms of moving the process forward.
Thank you so much. Renew and restore. That's our theme for this evening. And as we continue our discussion, our project manager perhaps could take us through the works since then. Vivian?
Hi.
Yes.
Hello, good evening. Vivian Gordon, project manager. Everyone's hearing me clearly? Okay, so a lot has been said, and I'm going to I will repeat some of it. But the building, being the age that it was, the process of stripping away the old, the process of stripping away layers to unearth other problems is what is needed for the creation of a new facility. It was mentioned in the video a while ago that as we move from one stage to the next, starting from the issue of the HVAC, which is where the genesis of the problem was, through various stages of demolition and structural stabilization of the building. Now, I'll speak a little bit more about the structural stabilization, but the issue of the building being stripped away, discovering structural deficiencies, and then having to systematically repair those structural deficiencies has been singularly the biggest challenge going forward. So in the earlier stages, where stopping water from entering the building was critical to what was perceived as a mold growth issue with the HVAC system, we moved into the demolition in the building and the structural stabilization. And that means that once we started to take out the ceilings, the walls, etc., we saw where the steel was spalling. It's a technical term, which just means that there's a cancer in the steel, etc., essentially, where the steel begins to corrode and push away the concrete and the structure. The process, for those of you who had the opportunity to visit during the last phase of works here at 2B, as we moved into the preparation for phase 3, you'd have seen that the intricacy of that work is, beyond description. Every piece of steel that was corroded was cleaned and then treated before any kind of mortar was put back on the building. So that was done from the 10th floor straight down to the ground and into the basement, where we saw significant deterioration of the base of the columns, the main structural supports. And that took a lot of work. We had to do the same process with those critical structural elements. And I can say confidently that based on the work that was given to us by our contractor and our consultants, or structural engineering consultants, the best result has been achieved by carrying out that work. In the last phase of the work as well, we looked at creating additional space while at the same time keeping water out of the building. So those of you who are familiar with the building would know that there were a series of atria in the building, these open to sky spaces. And by virtue of the work that we've done recently, we've done two things. We have kept water out of the building, which is a big concern in terms of mold growth, and we've also created additional usable space. So going forward, we'll have a situation where the footprint of Cornwall Regional Hospital will be increased. Another major introduction has been creating access routes through the building. Infection prevention and control is a major issue in a hospital, and what existed before we started, all of that will change with the routing for moving things between sterilization and operating theaters will be a completely new route, and concerns like that will be removed essentially from what we're doing. So moving now into phase 3, what we're looking at. The last phases of the work up to 2B, which will be finished officially on the 4th of April, 2023, will see a 50-year-old structure, as was mentioned, that has been completely renovated. And I say the structure. And that's important because putting anything new on top of something that is old and deteriorated is a bad starting point. So when the minister speaks about a new building, what we're saying essentially to the residents of Montego Bay is that we have completely repaired the skeleton of this building. And on that basis, we are now able to say to you that we are going to give you a new structure by virtue of putting in all the new architectural elements to make a modern hospital facility available to the region. So you can look forward to that. And that is where I will close.
All right. Thank you very much, Vivian. So moving from demolition to structural stabilization, and then creating additional spaces, keeping water out of the building, and having now new access routes. Phase 3 is to modernize. Let me go to Dr. Frey at this time. How have the works impacted operations at the facility as you have sought to ensure continuity of care to members of the public?
Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here to enlighten you on what is going on in terms of the clinical side of the work at Cornwall Regional Hospital. For those of you who have visited the hospital, when you enter the main gate of the hospital, to your left, I'm going to call it, if you understand the anatomy of that campus, that means the layout of it. To your left, we have erected a standalone unit for X-ray services. And further to your left there, we have, re-equipped the Mount Salem Health Center to facilitate the accident and emergency department. And within that area, we have our laboratory services, we have the pharmacy service, all in one space right there. And if you understand the layout, I call it the anatomy. The old building is right there, and behind it is the rebuilding of the children, building the children's hospital. So as you can see, it is separate and apart from what is going on. There's one roadway that we share, and all the services, the outpatient clinics are done off-site by the nearby conference center that is close proximity, and there's a walkway from where we are from the accident and emergency department to that area. So as you can see, the layout is well suited to work in facilitating the rebuilding process. And I would say it has caused a little bit, it minimizes what we have to do. And at the back of that building, there's a nice walkway and also a driveway that you can take the patient up to the wards itself. And at the back, you have the dental services and dialysis. And we have created a nice area that you can drive right around to the dialysis services as well. So currently, as we are operating, it's minimal effect on the works that are being done at the Cornwall Regional Hospital. And we are satisfied with what is going on there. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Frey. And these operational changes have helped to accommodate the ongoing works, if I'm correct. Dr. Frey?
That's correct.
Yes. Minister, what has been the significant progress markers or important milestones, you would say, over the last year?
Well, first of all, I think the big plus for me is that we understand the issues, because when we started out, there was a lot of uncertainty. And I think we need to accept that. We were pressed for time. We had a crisis with a full hospital trying to fix without compromising lives. And so we rushed to fix what were symptoms. And we must accept that rather than the root problem, which was that the entire building was compromised. Fast forward to today, and certainly last year and a half, maybe two, we fully understand what the problem is with the hospital. We know that the structures were compromised, so we enclosed the building. So the wet feature, which made the building moist, which gave rise to the mold, no longer an issue because we have covered those areas. We know that the electrics and the piping in the wall compromised. Those are taken out. The partitions and the ventilation system all taken out. So I think the big achievement is that we have a roadmap. We know what needs to be done, and the structure is now secure for the internals, which you've seen some on display here, and that augurs well, I think, for the rest of the work to be done and for a completion.
Minister, I think another question that perhaps is on the minds and hearts of Montegonians and persons from Western Jamaica would be timelines. What now are we looking at in terms of timelines to complete the project?
No, I've lost some credibility by giving timelines in the past for all the reasons that I've identified. And I'm prepared to say I'm very nervous about it going forward. However, because of what I said earlier on the greater certainty in terms of the issues and the roadmap, I prefer to say we will phase the reoccupation. And that's the discussion I've had with the contractors, the project management team. And we'd like that phase reoccupation to begin the end of this calendar year, or certainly very early in the new. And it will continue throughout the process, the period of next year, as we seek to complete a floor by floor scenario to begin to get people back in the main building.
Wonderful. Gary, let's talk a little bit about safeguarding quality control and the efforts that have gone into that up to now, because we know that's a very, very important aspect.
Yes. So, good evening, everyone. So I work for a company called WSP, which is a large engineering and infrastructure company. Primarily, my role is the U.S. Director of Healthcare. So for the past 23 years, I've been designing, doing quality control and commissioning healthcare system and hospitals all over the world. You know, predominantly in the U.S., but some in the Caribbean as well. And my role is really to make sure that whatever we're doing, you know what I mean, whatever work that we're doing is done at the highest quality. So my team, I have a team of experts. I don't stand alone. I have a team of technical experts that's are part of my team. That's mechanical, electrical, plumbing expert, fire protection, technology folks in terms of low voltage, fire protection, Also, folks who can call and with respect to codes and guidelines that can assure patient safety, which is the most important part of actually doing healthcare jobs. So we have a team that assists the PIU. We talk on a regular basis. I'm on call on a regular basis. I'm here a lot also. We do monthly visits followed by site observation reports, which basically walk the sites, with the contractors and basically with the project managers, making sure the quality of whatever is done properly. And making sure that we note if it's not, and make sure that when we're back, all those deficiencies are basically taken care of. So we're basically, coming in to tick all the boxes, dot all the I's and cross all the T's, and making sure that this building, that when you get it, you will get it for the highest quality, and a building that's more than sufficient to meet the requirements of patient care. And that's something that I've been doing, for the past, as I said, for the past 23 years, and something that I have vested interest also in it, because I'm Jamaican. I was born in Savannah. I'm interested in my country and want to make sure that we have healthcare that can serve the people. Thank you.
It's very comforting. Thank you. Thank you, Gary. Very comforting to know that we have an excellent team at work to ensure and to safeguard the quality of this product. Dr. Free, I'm going to jump back to you just a little bit to ask, what new services can we look forward to once the work is complete?
I want to thank you for that question, because this is the question that really drives me.
Yes.
This is the question that gives me the energy to be at Cornwall Regional Hospital. Prior to closing down, we had, as you know, Cornwall Regional Hospital is a type A facility that's supposed to provide all the necessary care for our patient. We had 27 specialty at the time. With this refurbished hospital, we're going to run 35 specialty in the hospital. Let me give you some more very interesting facts. One of the problems we have now at Cornwall Regional Hospital, I'm not afraid to say that, is that the SMO and myself, we get called every day asking for bed space. With a new refurbished hospital, we're going to move from a total of what we had before, say 450, and we are going to add 220 more beds. Do the mathematics. The entire pediatric adolescents will be moved out of Cornwall Regional Hospital. It will be housed in the pediatric adolescent hospital at the back. So we are going to get extra bed for our medical services. Some time ago, we had done an audit, Everton Anderson and myself, when I was SMO. And we realized that the hospital requires 100 more beds to serve the population of Western region. And here we are going to get these beds. We're going to get a renewed maternal high dependency unit, 10 beds. And this is the implementation of previous PROBAC plans. Internal medicine will now have 4 high dependency beds, which is currently being housed in container unit, because these are vital areas for our patient. We'll have an improved and modernized burns unit. We'll have a new ophthalmology suite and operating theater. We'll have an expanded cardiology unit. We'll have a modern central sterilized service department. Increased imaging services in collaboration with the Western Children Adolescents Hospital. We will now have MRI service at Cornwall Regional Hospital. As I've said before, increased range of specialties. We'll move from 27 to 35. So what are the new services where that is concerned? We'll have infectious disease specialty, pulmonology, endocrinology, facial-maxillary services, cardiothoracic services, gynae oncology services, fetal-maternal and reproductive endocrinology. some have partially been introduced while we are being relocated. Infectious disease specialty. We have a specialist in infectious disease, and we have a microbiologist and staff. We have a fetal-maternal specialist who we send for training at the university, and we currently, there's a gyne-oncologist in training as well. And we are looking forward to getting a trained endocrinologist to join the service as well. So as you can see, we'll also have expanded and improved occupational health and safety services, because this is going to be vital for any operation of this sort. We'll have an endoscopy suite in the operating theater. And let me give you an idea of what that is. Every single person, doesn't matter what problems you have, once you are over 45 years of age, you should have a colonoscopy done. In the private sector, the cost for a colonoscopy will run you somewhere about $65,000. We want to put in a suite where our public patient will be able to access colonoscopy services at the Cornwall Hospital free of cost. I take pride in telling my colleagues when I travel that we have one of the best radiation oncology service at Cornwall Regional Hospital. And we are hoping to add brachytherapy to that, unit as well. We're going to have a dedicated operating room for obstetrics. First world standard, where you feel comfortable like you are at home. And we are going to have improved staff spaces to accommodate administrative work and welfare. In summary, there'll be increased capacity for training at the facility. I have a great interest in medical education, and I believe the prime place this will take place is with the new Cornwall Regional Hospital. I am looking forward to this new institution, which I believe every Jamaican and everyone in Western Jamaica will be proud of. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Frey. I can feel the excitement and that positive energy just coming from you as you spoke.
And we don't know what half of those things are. What's the difference?
I could just.
But it sounds good.
Minister, I could just hear somebody saying, "Boy, holy allergy going on up there, Whatever that is. Now that you have excited us, Dr. Frey, you've whet our appetites of things to come. How soon can members of the public use or expect to use some of these services, access some of these services? You did say some of them were actually being initiated.
That's correct.
Even during this period.
Correct. As we speak now, our radiation oncology service is in place and has been treating, many patients, not only from Western Jamaica, from all over the island. We have an oncology service with 2 trained oncologists as well, and we serve a wide population of patients. Let me tell you what the oncology service is. It caters to patient that requires chemotherapy, and the radiation unit is for patient that requires radiation for cancer, like prostate cancer, breast cancer, etc. And this is one of the area of my specialty, breast. And I can tell you, people in Western Jamaica can tell you, people in Western Jamaica is getting first world care if, unfortunately, you should get breast cancer, colon cancer, or prostate cancer. This is why I'm so excited about it. We have to be on top of the world.
Dr. Frey. He's a breast man.
Also, Ms. Stevenson, our infectious disease department, we have a specialist in that area, and it was tested over the past 2 years with, the COVID outbreak.
Yeah.
And I can safely tell you that our staff there did admirable in terms of treating those cases.
Thank you. Minister, I have another one for you. What is the value of the investment in this new facility?
Right. So can I
And
defer to
Somebody,
to
anybody
Vivian?
could break down those costs for us.
I think we were at what, 14 billion overall, but let me ask the
The
project,
project manager, yes, go ahead.
So, coming out to the last press conference we did, yes, 14.1 is what we said are the new estimates. That includes equipment, professional services, as well as the build out, both medical and general build out for the services at the hospital.
Can I just come in here because I know the question is going to be asked, but it has been over and over, and statement made about cost overruns, and with that comes a lot of cynicism that somehow we're here throwing away money and the taxpayers' money, or worse, we teeth in it. I understand people cynical. Let us just call it for what it is, because people saying it. I am going to ask the overseas quality assurance gentleman, Garrel, to comment in context around these costs, because he's very aware of it. He's the government's advisor, so he ensures the quality and the value for money issue. If you don't mind, Madam Chair.
Not at all. Not at all, Minister. Go right ahead.
So let's just put it in the context. Typically, in terms of in the US, a hospital is built at about 500 to 600, 550 to say about $16,000 a square foot. A hospital like Cornwall Regional, which is 387,000 square feet, would have cost, if I'm looking at the lower end, it would have cost somewhere like about 35 to 40 billion dollars to construct, and that's a brand new facility. So in the context, if we're looking at $14 billion, and this is without medical equipment in the US. So if you tack on medical equipment, you're looking more like closer to maybe 50 to 55 billion dollars. So in the context, if we're looking at below $20 billion for a renewed hospital, I see a whole lot of value and a bargain in that, because really what you're doing, you're basically taking care of your existing challenges with patients. You're phasing and allowing other services to be taken care of external to the hospital, while trying putting back all the pieces together to build you a facility that will be better. It will have more services, but also infrastructure. In any healthcare facility, I can tell you, the mechanical, electrical, plumbing system, people have to feel comfortable, infection control, all your infrastructure that you install. Ensure that all the ensure that we can basically serve the building properly, and ensure that we don't have a sick building in the future. So basically, where I see this as value for money, because we're not building. If we're supposed to build a new facility, it would have cost us maybe about $60 billion.
Thank you so much, Gary. At this time, I want to open the floor to members of the public who may have questions. We have 2 microphones down each aisle right here. When you approach the microphone, please say your name, and if there is an organization or company that you represent and you wish to tell us, we would appreciate that. If it's a media house, please state that as well.
My name is Michael Anthony Halliburton. Halliburton, the oil service company. I was born in Jubilee Hospital. I don't know what condition it is now. But anyway, I'm proposing a partnership, private, public, to build a brand new hospital, top of whatever, top of the line, world class hospital. And this is how we're going to get it done. Halliburton, the company, oil service company, is now selling shares at $30 a share on the New York Stock Exchange. It's going to be restructured. It's going to be restructured, and the new company is going to
We actually wanted to take questions in relation to the
Well, I'm
Cornwall
gonna
Regional Hospital.
Yes, this one. It's a partnership. We're going to be a partnership. But I'm trying to offer, we're going to offer shares, right?
Sorry, sir.
Yeah.
I really don't mean to be abrupt or otherwise, but can we probably allow the questions directly related to the Cornwall Regional? Whether they are critical or not, we're fine. We welcome them.
Okay.
But maybe we can discuss the share offer afterwards, and I'd be happy to talk to you afterwards on that.
Okay, we could do
All
that.
right. Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome.
All right, we have a gentleman in the middle here.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Robert Lee. I represent a person living with disability. I have a question for Dr. Tufton, Dr. Frey, and the technical person. For the technical person, can you tell me, sir, if the hospital is accessible enough for persons with disability in terms of everything? Let's say I should go to the bathroom. I'm visually impaired, not able to see. Is there something there to indicate that this is the door or anything like that? That's what I mean when I say accessibility, not opening or closing. And if I turn the pipe on or having difficulties in finding the pipe, is there something that will indicate that this is the pipe, or the pipe itself has a sensor on it that will allow me to be able to wash my hand and do whatever I need to do? For Dr. Tufton, can you tell us, please, sir, what policies is out there for persons who are living with disability or without disabilities to get what we call financial help regarding certain type of surgeries, or pretty much any type of surgeries, especially if you're a person with disability? For Dr. Frey, if I'm correct, I'm going to ask him now, can he tell me regarding the services that will be, the personnel that will be trained to be able to deal with persons with disability? What do I mean? A lot of times, true to be told, the personnel that we encounter at the hospital are not necessarily disabled friendly, and because of that, a lot of us does not necessarily get what we call the services. If I'm not able to speak, will there somebody there that knows sign language that will be able to help me if I'm not with someone? If I'm also visually impaired, no one attend with me, will I be able to still attend and get whatever service is required of me, or will I be discriminated at? Thank you very much.
Okay. I think those are three parts to the question. One has to do with accessibility for the disabled. The other has to do with policy, which will look at special help for persons who are disabled. And the third part is personnel to treat adequately with the disabled community.
All right, so to take the first part of the question regarding accessibility, it's a new design. The design includes full accessibility. He's going to sit down. Which also includes signage, as you mentioned. Your wayfinding. A big component of this redesign, the new building, will be proper wayfinding throughout the building. So yes, in terms of accessibility, it will be fully accessible to all the standards required for ADA compliance.
Okay.
As we are now, you must understand that we had to move out of the main building. We have to refurbish facilities in order to ensure continuity of service, which is absolutely important. So the ideal aspect for disability, as we are now, I would say we wouldn't have that in place. But to the best as we can, we have adapted what we can do to allow for that. And in terms of our staff, all our doctors, nurses, and all of those who deal with patients are trained to deal with patients with disability, and no one with disability will be discriminated against. And I can reassure you of that. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Is that Vicky?
Certainly, but I'm not next. It's the gentleman next.
Christopher is from the Gleaner.
Yes, afternoon. As you mentioned, Christopher Thomas from the Gleaner. Just two questions. First of all, mention was made about one of the services that is going to be on offer is a modernized burn unit. Can we get a bit of expansion as to what is going to be on offer with the burn unit, how many patients that unit will be able to accommodate? And I ask that because I know there have been calls up to as recent as October just gone for burn unit, right? And also, in relation to what Minister Tufton mentioned a while ago about the roadmap, and I'm asking it as one of the cynics. We've had this issue from 2016, 2017, and the work has been ongoing. There's a roadmap that is there now, you say, but how do we know that when it comes down to the 11th hour, something is not going to crop up that brings us back to the drawing board yet again?
You want to go first, Dr. Frey?
A burns unit is a specialized unit to treat burns patient. It involves, an area where the patients are housed. And if you understand the burn surface area, you can't move that. It's like an intensive care area. Before the hospital, we had to remove from the hospital, we had a dedicated area in the intensive care unit that was dedicated for burns. It has its own shower facility. It has its own bed for the acute care patient that you could move them from the bed to the shower facility, to the operating theater, where you can access area for them to be treated. That will be re-established. We have a plastic surgeon who is in place now, and we are going to develop that unit to deal with any aspect of burns care. And in the past, we have had a great plastic surgeon who was retired, who has developed the protocols that are concerned with that. And he was trained in first world country. And all of this was established at Cornwall Regional Hospital. What we need now is the physical facility to implement such a unit. And that is on the drawing board, and it will be implemented.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Frey.
Christopher, I know you're a cynic, so you didn't have to say that. But I don't want you to put me in a box and then create an opportunity to be critical later on. How do you know you're going to wake up tomorrow morning? That's a question we probably could all ask ourselves. We really don't know. And for me to predict with absolute certainty would be to be unwise. We're dealing with a construction project. What I've said to you, and I will maintain that position, is that in the beginning, we rushed to solve a problem because of all the other pressures that we had to deal with, including occupation of a building with no alternative. And I think any well-thinking, objective Jamaican, and I'm sure you are one, I say so with the greatest respect, could appreciate if you were to place yourself in that context, that we were subject to a lot more margins of error at that time. In other words, the probabilities were real. Fast forward to today, I can say with a lot more certainty, but never absolute certainty, because none of us can, that we have a roadmap, we have some timelines, the experts are on either side, have confirmed what is happening and what will continue to happen. And I do believe with the greatest level of confidence, as opposed to 4 years ago or 3 years ago, that we are going to see re-engagement of the main building starting, if not the end of this year, early next, and that will continue through to a full re-engagement. But don't ask me to give you December 10th or December 15th, because to do that would just be to set up myself, and I'm not going to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. And I believe you answered a question that we didn't actually pose, but it came into us online in what you just said, because the question says, when can we expect to see services once again on offer inside the main
But can I
building?
answer that? Can I say something about that also, if I may, Madam?
Sure.
I don't mean to kind of dominate the steering, but a lot of time the narrative around Cornwall Regional main building rehabilitation misses a very important point. And that point is that Cornwall Regional, as a hospital providing services to the people of Western Jamaica, continues to function and save lives, thousands and thousands of lives, almost every week and every month. Dr. Frey can attest to that. He can give you the stats about how many people pass through accident and emergency, how many people do lab tests, chemotherapy, dialysis, and I could go on, including inpatient care, which is right at the back of the building which was once the nurses' quarters. So while I think it's important to probe on the main building, we must always balance that context with the fact that if Jamaicans in Western Jamaica are ill and require attention, people like Dr. Frey and Dr. Harvey and all the other hardworking staff are always here and have been providing services. And I think it needs that level, the discussion needs that level of balance. So I just want to remind us and to thank, by the way, those who have been toiling, laboring, and ensuring that those services are provided. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Vicky, your turn.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Miss Vicky. I'm speaking on behalf of the people on the ground in Montego Bay. Okay, the question I'm asking, this goes for Mr. Vivian what's his name? Mr. Vivian Gordon and Mr. Gary Hamilton, not for the doctors. Project manager and advisor you are. The thing is this, I'm asking a question, and I'll tell you the reason why I'm asking the question concerning Cornwall Regional, the old Cornwall Regional. Of all the asbestos pipes that was originally installed in the Cornwall Regional in the beginning, has been removed totally?
Yes, definitely. And we have the certificates to confirm that all of that has been done.
Thank you, because I ask this question is because of the people in Montego Bay are still saying, even some of the nurses, that the foam and the foul smell started at the beginning of Cornwall Regional Hospital. They don't think all the pipes have been removed. And I try to tell a couple of them, why don't you tour the hospital with the project manager? I'm not the one who's supposed to be doing it. You're the ones, because you all work up here. I only visit now when I'm sick. So you should all visit with the project manager. Let him give you a tour of the building and see what everything is like. New, put in for the old structure. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Vicky. Let's move to the next person.
Hello, good evening. Hello? Good evening. My name is E Central.
Could you just speak up a little bit more for us so that we can hear you better?
Hello, good evening. My name is E Central. I'm a resident of St. James. I live at E Central, St. James. And I know that he has just built out a new facility in Adelphi, St. James, but there is no dental service fitted to the clinic as yet. So I have a daughter, I have 2 teeth wanted to extract. So basically, I wanted to know when is the nearest future the dental service would establish.
First of all, don't assume that the teeth want to be extracted, because you're not a dentist. What I would, and I've said so with a lot of humility and respect, I just don't like extraction to be the first option, because nothing is worse than a mature person who lacks their oral fittings naturally. I'd rather save them than take them out. Okay. And we're coming with something on that list note in my sector. But anyway, afterwards we talk to you. There's always a solution. If there's no services at that location, we can work with you for you to go to another, including here. But there is a service there in the old building, I believe. Isn't there a service in there? Huh? It's on the new building. And I toured the new building last week with the Member of Parliament, Mr. Bartlett, and the team. We had some minor finishing touches to add. They're doing it now. So we're hoping to open that building within the next 2 or 3 weeks. I'm told 3 chairs are there. So your daughter might not need the extraction. She might need a fill-in. Okay? And we make sure she have a nice smile after. Thank you very much.
No, well, hello.
Thank you, Minister.
Well, basically, it's 4 teeth at the front. So I'm all
right. You're really making the case. You're really making the case. It looks like you want your extractions. No, we can sort that out with the dentist. Let the dentist do it. All right. Thank you very much.
Sir Clayton Morgan, over to you, sir.
Good evening, everyone, Mr. Minister. My question concerns the date for, pardon me?
Clayton Morgan.
That has already announced it.
Attorney at law.
Aye. This question is directed to you, Minister, you have already said that you are unable to say with any degree of certainty, and I understand, the date for the completion of this project. Now, my problem is with the date for completion and the cost, the continuing escalation of the cost of the project because of, as you put it, the rescoping of the project. Now, this project began, was it 5 years ago? And notwithstanding the fact that it was difficult in the inception of the project to foresee the difficulties. Nevertheless, it is my understanding and my view that there was some degree of negligence on the part of the contractors, on the part of your advisors, as to the problems which kept coming up each month. Now, because of these delays, the people of Western Jamaica in particular have been put to a great deal of inconvenience. They have had to be going to Noel Homes in Lucy, Falmouth, all over the country because of the delays. The costs on the taxpayers of this country have been enormous. There seems to be no end to the cost. I would like for you, Mr. Minister, to tell us how many more years or months is it going to take to complete this project? Okay. And what is the cost? I understand it is now exceeding $12 billion. We would like an answer to those two questions.
Thank you very much, sir. And we appreciate your concerns and welcome your probing of the issues. This is taxpayers' money we're talking about, and the people and the lives of people. First of all, I don't want you to put words in my mouth. I didn't say we can answer with certainty. I can say confidently and with a lot more certainty that we have a roadmap and we will meet that timeline starting this year into next. What I am refusing to say is that I can speak with absolute certainty, because nobody can on any project that you do. And it would be foolhardy of me to do that. But we're very confident that we're on the right track now. Secondly, sir, you mentioned negligence, and I say this with a lot of sincerity. You know what is negligence? The way we have treated the Cornwall Regional Building over decades. I started my rendition by saying I have correspondence in my possession pre-2007. I was nowhere near the Ministry of Health and Wellness, nor the administration. And again, I'm saying so sincerely, where the definition, the diagnosis of the building took place, the shutting down of the central ventilation system, the replacement with split systems, where the experts say it was inappropriate and it would lead to all manners of issues. And nothing was done. It's like having a child and providing no support or guidance for that child. And then when they end up in some wayward scenario, then you blame, the grandparent, for example. We neglected our infrastructure. We neglected the Cornwall Regional Building over many years. Now, we are trying to fix a problem, coming to your question on timelines. The reality is, with all that neglect, and the building was almost in a coma. It was a sick building. That's the diagnosis. The experts are here. It would have taken time so to do. And why it has taken a little longer than I would hope is because we did not have the local expertise to fully diagnose the problem. We had to send for UNOPS. We now have WSP, which is a private large hospital building firm. We literally had to shut down the project for a year. Hardly nothing was done here while we were trying to engage the procurement process and the consultations to re-engage the experts so we don't make any mistakes. And so that accounted for some of the delays. But I want to just provide some hope, as I did earlier, that I think we're a lot more certain now, and I think we're on a good track to achieve all that Dr. Frey has said in terms of services and facilities. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tufton. Another question that came in the interim: what is the status of the Oversight Committee?
So I see the president of the chamber here, and I want to welcome him. Sorry, I should have mentioned earlier. So we had an oversight committee that was appointed with Professor Archie McDonald. You would have seen him on the screen earlier, essentially supporting the approach that we have taken. And then he had to go. He expressed his interest to go. I had a meeting with the local chamber, then President Miss Silveira, and agreed with her suggestion to use the chamber as the substantive complement of an oversight body, which was a deviation from the previous approach that I took. Anyway, we went together and we worked and we appointed the team. And since then, the new president has come in. We have tried to keep in touch with all of the critical stakeholder groups, including the chamber. The chamber clearly is not the only critical stakeholder group in St. James, but they have been a critical path because they have asked a lot of questions, which we appreciate. Up to a few months ago, I think it was, the chamber toured the building. I wasn't here, but the team was here. And the report I got was that they were satisfied, if I'm saying something untoward, you can correct me, with the progress that was being made, because all of this was explained and they were there physically. I was a little surprised and, frankly speaking, a little disappointed when I subsequently saw in the media a kind of commentary that suggested that somehow this chamber was being kept in the dark. And I say so sincerely. And it's not rancor or, because I do believe we must engage stakeholders on an issue like this. But it did take me off guard because I was under the impression that having visited, having dialogued, then everybody was on the same page. And indeed, I had suggested that we engage the chamber to coordinate this town hall so that we could further express that dialogue. Having said all of that, the team is still there. We're still willing to engage and to offer any clarity on the issue on a daily basis until we re-engage. So nothing has changed in terms of that body, and I continue to talk to the president of the chamber.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tufton. Do we have any other questions? Councillor, you had an epiphany just now.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good evening. Minister, something that we tend to, and I think the public tends to take their eye off of, is what got us here. Cornwall region is coming from a place where if you needed to find out where sewer pipes were, plumbing pipes were, you had to find some man in the maintenance department that could come and say the pipe is here. So while we're comfortable and while everybody here is comfortable with what we're seeing in front of us now, we now want to hear what is going to happen so that we don't end up back in this place. So if you can share with us about the maintenance and engineering plans you have for the future for the hospital.
I'm going to allow these guys on either side to give some details as to how they approach it. But what I'll tell you from a policy perspective, what I've made very clear is that we can't get back to this point. And indeed, this is related to other facilities. We have just formed a committee for KPH because I worry that KPH could end up like Cornwall, and you'll hear more about that. And we are establishing some standards as it relates to Spanish Town and the other build-outs that we're doing. The long and short of it is that we have to rescope our maintenance schedule, which involves personnel, which involves routine inspection, etc. So I've challenged the team, both the project manager and our quality assurance team, to ensure that that is put in place. I don't know if they want to comment a little more on that.
Let me comment on that, which is something that, so you should know as part of the oversight and the quality control. WSP is also the commission agent for the project. Commission agent is really making sure that everything that you design in terms of system, at the end of the project, it works according to that. We're not going to depend on a contractor to tell us that it works. We're going to make sure that we're there to help them test it and make sure that we run it through the different challenges and make sure that the system works as per design. As part of our scope as well is training and document training, also video training of the facility personnel, also so that they understand the basis of the design so that when they're operating the facility, they understand the reason why it was done that way. So that's part of the scope of our work. And I've been talking to the minister and the team and the PIU also that basically we have to put together a proper maintenance schedule. And as a part of it is to really engage the maintenance team. And we have persons who are going to be part of the maintenance team that are already part of the project and the day-to-day. So they understand what the project is about and so forth. They can be, change agent and also some of the teachers, for the other staff that joins, when the project is actually, completed and in operation.
Thank you very much, Gary. You want to comment?
Well, I just wanted to say there are lots of things we didn't know going into this. And in order to make sure that we don't have that issue again, we're starting from scratch. I mean, you've been into the building. Those who have been into the building, we've taken out everything. And anything that had a question mark on it is gone. We are doing civil works on the outside. So end to end, from everything that comes into the building to the last point of distribution will be new. So that is the kind of design that we're looking at. Gary will be there to commission it and test it for us. And that's how we can guarantee that what's coming at the end is going to be brand new.
All right. Thank you very much, Vivian. There are no more. Oh, yes, there is one more question.
Yes,
Please go ahead, sir.
Good afternoon, Edward Lord here. Minister, I remember you were talking about how you're going to do the approach for the equipment for the building. And I'm not too sure, I think it would be a good point now just to elaborate a little bit more on purchasing as opposed to leasing, because I don't think people understand the magnitude of cost when it comes to these things. So if either you or Gary.
Right. So the simple response, and thanks for that, is that we're going with all new equipment in the building. A big part of the cost, I think about 3 billion, is for equipment. So when you come into the new Cornwall Regional, there will be no recycled equipment. I mean, unless they are very modern. But we're going for new equipment. So it's really a new facility with new equipment with expanded services. That's the best way to describe it. The challenge we have with equipment across the health system is that many are outdated. We did a study I commissioned in 2018 to look at our equipment. 25% of the equipment we had, this is the diagnostic stuff, were obsolete. Just over 50% were working but limping. 80% of that 50% had repairs needed. And we don't have the expertise. When we want somebody to repair, they have to come from abroad. So we have put a program in place to attempt to lease, which would come with servicing, but it is going through a very long, protracted procurement process, which if we don't do, then we're going to be written up and accused of all sorts of things. That's just unfortunately how the system works. We hope that that will eventually lead to more consistent working equipment. And of course, we'll purchase some. But for Cornwall Regional, we have already started to scope all the necessary equipment that's needed. And it's very expensive. It's not cheap. As I said, nearly $3 billion worth of equipment. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Minister. We have another question in the middle row here.
Good evening. I'm Robin Stevenson, concerned citizen. Curious about the sustainability of the efforts to maintain and create a maintenance plan for not just Cornwall Regional, but KPH going forward. So in terms of the sustainability aspect, what plans are being put in place to ensure that with successive administrations or a changing government, that all these maintenance efforts will continue despite whoever's in power?
So that's a policy-driven process. So for example, right now, the policy has in it positions that are established. So how many maintenance officers you'll have, when you drill down to the operational side. Once we review or revise the policy and place a greater priority on preventative maintenance, it will have implications for how many engineers we hire for a particular plant like this, because a hospital is a plant. It has many moving parts, and infection and prevention control is a big deal. So it will mean more people, greater prevention as opposed to solving a problem after it happened. So a leaking pipe. One of the things I discovered in the early days of Cornwall is that a leaking pipe would stay there for 3 years. And every drip runs into the wall, and the wall becomes moist, and then the growth of mold. So you solve those problems right away. So the response to your question is that we're reviewing the policy on maintenance and preventative maintenance, which will have implications for the people we hire, and of course, the scheduling of how we inspect and how we deal with some of the issues.
Ms. Vicky, I believe you have a follow-up question.
Doctor, I would like to ask you, what country or where the funding will be coming from what country is going to build the beds for the hospital, or what country are going to get all those beds for the hospital from? As you say, it will be new equipment into the new Cornwall Regional Hospital. Thank you.
The short answer is I have no clue. And that involved in the procurement process. What we'll do though is establish standards, and those standards would have to be complied with in terms of how they work and so on. I don't know if these guys want to comment on that, but I don't think they know either, except for the standards. And you have any comments on the standards?
Yeah, so the specification of the equipment and beds will be part of it. So you specify it, so that you don't have unfair competition. So more than one manufacturer, can actually supply the bed. So there's many different healthcare manufacturers that supply beds, of similar quality. So it will go through the procurement process, and we will list at least 3 manufacturers part of the specification, so that when we're sourcing it, we have options in terms of cost.
Thank you very much, Gary. We have another question in the back.
Good afternoon, ministers. My name is Denham Cook, and I'm from the Cornwall Common Disability Association. I just have a question for you, Mr. Minister. In the whole Cornwall Regional, we used to have this place for people who are mentally challenged. Is this new one is going to be the same way, or we're going to find a different place to put mentally challenged people?
So we have a psychiatric ward here, and so we do that now. I've been there, not as a patient, but by regular visits. But mental health, not to be flippant about it, mental health is a very big issue. Very big issue. And you would have seen and heard announcements around revamping the mental health approach, greater community engagement, less institutionalization in the schools, in the communities, and so on. The short answer is yes, we will have a facility here for that, but we're going to be doing a lot more at the community level. I don't know if Dr. Frey wants to comment.
Well, originally the 10th floor of the hospital was for psychiatric services. And I have seen the new layout. And if you ever see that, you will be quite pleased. It will be a state-of-the-art psychiatric unit. Currently, those patients are being housed at the back in our refurbished area. So the care is being continued. And we're hoping once we move back in, we'll take it up to a very high level of care.
Thank you very much, Dr. Frey.
Can I crave your indulgence, Madam Moderator, to ask just one question?
All right, I believe we're winding down now, so we'll allow.
Yes, I appreciate that. Mr. Minister, if I might just go a little further west to Savannah Lamar. I noticed recently in the press that the chairman of the hospital management committee stated that they are having some very serious issues there of maintenance, particularly sewage and gray water, which are being mixed, and it's creating a lot of problems down there. And a while ago, you were just speaking about maintenance going forward. Can you say whether you're aware of these problems, and if so, what steps are being taken to ameliorate the situation there?
You sound like a lawyer, I have to come talk to you after. First of all, that's another legacy project in that the project was conceived, the contracts awarded, meaning the technical aspects of it, prior to my becoming minister. It's not an excuse, but I just want to say, unfortunately, we have a lot of these issues that we're trying to clean up. Having attempted to implement, there were some technical defects related to the project. I suspect, if not in its mechanics, in the way it was designed to deal with the high water table in that area. And it led to all sorts of issues. I'm very disappointed in terms of how the process evolved up to that point. But we have to correct it. So what we are doing now, the regional director, he's not the chairman of the South Hospital, Mr. Clark, Bishop Clark, Eric Clark, is actually the chair of Western Region. He has been instructed to work with his board to find a solution, now that a report has been done, a technical report, to fix the problem, because we have already spent 100 and odd million or somewhere in that region with the the initial contractor. And the project, the system really hasn't worked for very long. So the short answer that we're fixing the problem, a problem that we inherited, but we're gonna have to fix it and hopefully learn from it.
Thank you very much, Minister.
Halliburton is here. Would you consider leasing a brand new building with all the equipment? It will be less than what you would initially put out. This is just something to consider. As a company, we own the building, all the equipment, and we lease it to you at a very affordable price. We do all the maintenance, everything that is necessary. And it's fixed.
All right, sir, thank you.
I'll talk to you afterwards, right?
Okay, yes, let's talk afterwards.
Minister. I don't believe we have any other questions at this time. So I'm going to invite you, Minister Tufton, to share with us your closing remarks.
But first of all, let me thank you, Madam Chair, for your excellent oversight of this meeting. And thanks to all who are here, the team from Cornwall Regional, Western Region, the Chamber, the elected officials, public officials, and others. And of course, my panelists who have provided, I think, excellent support in terms of some of the areas that I am not fully aware of. So it is my job as minister and as part of the Andrew Holness government to complete this facility and to make it bigger and better. We've gotten the support. I've gotten the support from the government, from the cabinet, to move this process forward. And it is a very unusual context. I want you to picture this, and hopefully we will understand how unusual it is. We have an active hospital that is serving thousands of people every week, right at the same venue, same geographic location. And we have 2 construction sites, active construction sites. We didn't discuss a lot Western Children's Hospital, which is a 220-odd bed facility that is an 8th floor, then 3 floors at the front, then an accommodation to the side. It's now on its 4th floor, I believe, the last time we checked. And that is being built right now as we speak. And beside that is an active site, which is the Cornwall main building. And then you have people moving as contractors, as workers, and then patients moving from one place to the next. I have not seen that kind of scenario, and maybe I'm naive, anywhere else in the world. Nowhere else in the world. 2 hospitals being built and a hospital being operated on the same site in a relatively confined space, where the risk of noise pollution, dust pollution, people going and wandering in the wrong places, infection prevention and control measures have to be. I want to pay tribute to the staff, the workers at Cornwall Regional Hospital, and I believe we all should do that. They do it every day, and it has become a routine, even though I know they are fatigued. The second point I want to raise is that Cornwall must be a teaching moment for us. And for me, it's a teaching moment. When this would have been completed, this team here, including myself, supposed to can fix anything almost in the world. Because this was indeed what I consider the perfect storm. You'd have to be in it. Only COVID beat this. In terms of the challenges that we face, the risks that were there, the lives at stake, the crying nurses around air quality on the TV or when you met with them. It really was the perfect storm. But I believe the worst is behind us. And that's the hope I want to leave you with. I believe that if you're sick, you can come to Cornwall and get attention. And I believe when you come, or if you just want to pass through, you will see the manifestations of hope. We are going to have over 700 beds concentrated in one location, multiple specialist services that may be offered nowhere else in the country, or the Caribbean for that matter. A Western children and adolescent up to 18 years specialist service, and more doctors and nurses and support staff than anywhere else in the region, because this new facility will be bigger than the University Hospital of the West Indies. And so for training, for health tour, all the things that are possible, depending on how we configure and mix and match those things. So better days are ahead. And what I want to leave the people of Western Jamaica with, and Jamaica on a whole, better days are ahead. We have done the heavy lifting. We just need to refine and to polish and to start the engine. Thank you very much. God bless you.
And thank you very much, Minister Tufton. I want to thank the other members of your team this evening, Vivian Gordon, Gary Hamilton, and Dr. Delroy Frey, for enlightening us and hopefully answering all of the questions that we had in our hearts this evening. We look forward under this theme, Renew and Restore, to a more efficient, a modern facility at Cornwall Regional. We know there's some pain in progress and we know it's been long in coming, but we want to thank the people of Western Jamaica as well for their patience. We look forward to the 35 specialities and we look forward to all the wonderful things that will take place in terms of caring for our people in Western Jamaica. Thanks to everyone for coming out again. Minister, I believe, will make his way to have a little chat with Cliff in the back, and I want you to know that there is some refreshment available for you. Please do not leave without having a drink, having a little something, refreshing yourselves, and keep the faith. There's hope for the future. Thank you, and God bless you. Have a good evening. Be safe.